now let's get started with the, I hope, less boring part of the lecture, so the part in which we develop something concrete. So this is the React app that you see in the past lecture with Professor De Russis. So I'm going to install and start it, hoping that everything is working. No, I'm in the wrong folder. Okay. Week 9, React score. Okay. So in the meanwhile, what is the fourth thing that we have to do in this moment to implement browser routing and routing? Okay. And so when he's finished to install the dependencies, we are going to install the library, specifically the router DOM library, which I told you before is the one designed for the front end. It's a little bit slow. It's something that I did before, sorry. Okay, in the meanwhile, we can also start thinking about the next steps. So this is the old application. We have the app here, and the main app will exploit, will have basically these two rows. So the place in which we have to put the browser routing is here, before the container, because we have to wrap the whole application. So let me start the app to see if everything is working as expected. And in the meanwhile, here I start writing npm install react router DOM. So we need to okay, so we have React Bootstrap, and we are going to import the browser router. Okay, so not very nice according to the space, but it seems that the application is running as expected. We can delete the XM. You see that when we reload, the page is refreshed. As I want to show you, if here I go to a test route, you see that the page is reloaded, and then we have the same page, because actually the React server, the React development server, take every URL and ignore it, basically. It gets always the main app. So what we're going to do now is taking this library from React router DOM. We are going to put the browser router here. Okay. We put everything inside browser router, and if we save the page, we can see that basically nothing happens. Okay, the page is still working. If we open the console and we go inside the components, you can see that browser router, navigation provider, location provider, all these components are now inserted. That is something offered by browser router component. Okay, so what's next? What we need? What do you think we are going to do now? What do you have in mind? How we can restructure the application to support the routes? If I correctly hear you, you say to have a route for the form, right? Exactly. So right now we have this add button that show the form that we can cancel, or we can put something here. So this is the course code. So I don't know, 1, 2, 3 KI, test course, something like that. When we save, we have the course now. We have the course here. It could be nice to have a different route for the form, because the form sticked here is a little bit ugly, something that we do not expect in traditional application. Any routes? Any other routes that you think would be nice to have? Another for the edit, because now, again, same behavior. We click here, we can change the content of the XM. 30 is too much. We decrease the score a little bit. And OK. Apparently, maybe I press cancel. I don't know. Doesn't care. But there are 2 routes that could have sense to insert. And then others. Anything more in mind? Yeah, a page from wrong URL. For instance, if here I write, I don't know, hello, as I did before, it could be nice to give to the user the information that his URL is wrong. Yeah. OK, so let's start adding routes. So as I said before, we have these 2 components, routes to specify the list of routes that we want to address, and route to specify the specific route that we want to address. So I can add these 2 components. No, I want to close it. OK. And we can put routes here. And here. When I'll save the page, you will see that nothing is displayed anymore, because now we triggered the routing process. So the application would like to have route to access. And we did not specify anything at the moment, so it is not able to render anything. So what we are going to do is to create a route that go to the slash path to display the whole application. I miss my keyboard. OK. We take the whole container. We save. Yeah, oh, OK, obviously. Why nothing happened? Because the route has 2 props. The first one, which is the path that we want to address, and the second one, which is the element that we want to render. So obviously, we did not specify anything. So, and I have to close the route in this way for the moment. OK, so now we have restored the previous layout. We have the application that is rendered on slash. So if, for instance, here I go to hello, nothing happens. Why? Exactly, because there is no a route that is matching this specific path. We have only the route for the slash. So I propose, first of all, to create a component for this app, because it could be useful to have some different view. So for instance, I could take this container. I could create something like, I don't know, XM route, something like that. I put the code here, and obviously I need also to return something, obviously. Okay, so we take the whole component here, and obviously when I will save, everything will be broken because we need to fix some stuff. We have to render XM router here. Remember that here you have to specify not a function but a JSX element, so you have to write in this way. Okay, and then obviously we have to fix the probes, because here we take something from the top level, while here we need to pass it. So can write something like this: XM route exams equal, here we pass, yeah, we can pass simply the exams, I guess. So we can do in this way. Here we did props dot exam dot length. Here we can do props dot exams. Now we have also to specify some method, obviously. Okay, maybe it is better to copy and paste. Okay, here, so we have the exam. We have here to change these here to, oh no, here to edit exam, props.edit exam, props.add exam, props.delete exam, which is something more very close to what I think you did in the lab for structure your application. Obviously we have to specify props. Hopefully if we save, okay, everything is working again. We have the delete button. We have the possibility to add the form, and that's okay. What we need now is a different view, a different route for the default route, which is something quite simple to achieve. So under this route, we can specify a different route for the star path. That means everything. And we can render a new element that we are going to create that we can call, for instance, I don't know, default route. Obviously, I'm using the route keyword, but you can call this component as you prefer. So here we're going to add a function default route without props. And we can return something, I don't know, very, very, very simple, like, I don't know. Here we can write something like no data here. We can take inspiration from GitHub and writing something like, this is not the route you are looking for. So if we did correctly, now when here I write something, we will get no data here. This is not the route you're looking for. So we address this default case. Okay. So now what we have to do is create a separate view, a separate route for the form component. So we have the exam route for the exam, and we can create, for instance, a component called okay, the path could be, I don't know, add /add to be sure. Okay, path, and we can render a component called, I don't know, form route, something like that. That obviously will need some props for walking. So we can take the exam route. We create a copy because I expect a view quite similar. We call this route form route. Instead of showing here my exams, for instance, we can write something like enter exam data. We don't need these props anymore. And instead of showing the exam table, here we can show the exam form. So we need to verify that exam form is imported. Actually, no. So we import the exam form from /components. Okay, so when we go, this is the exam route, this is the form route, okay? So here, a form will be shown when we hit the add route. We can try to save. Okay, we broke something already. Model build failed. Probably an error in the JSX. Probably exactly, that was the point. Let me just close the tag in this way. Okay, so now if we visit the /add route, we will have a form. Obviously, at this point, nothing works, because if I press cancel, it doesn't work. If I try to add something, it is very reasonable that it doesn't work. Can try to go back. In fact, it doesn't work. So we have to create a dynamic behavior. The first thing that I think has sense to implement is changing the behavior of the add button. So we don't want to show the form, but we want to go to the add route, this one. And then we want to have the cancel button that go back. As you can see, just to remember what we saw in the theoretical part, you can use the backward and forward button for navigating in the app, which is something that we can't do before in the single page application. So let's go inside the exam route. I have to disable. Okay, let's go inside the exam route, specifically inside the exam table. Here we have, oh no. Here we have this part for showing the form. So we can temporarily comment this part to be sure that if we need it, it's still here. We can save, and the add button should disappear. Now we can remove the exam form because we don't need it anymore in this page. We can remove also the show form, because again, we don't need to show the form anymore. This will give us a lot of error, I guess, but we are going to fix them. So we can import React Bootstrap. And which components do we need to point to a different page? Do you remember? Link, yeah. So we import the link component from React router DOM. So we take, where is set show form, edit. I would like to reuse the old button, but okay, button variant success. So here we can show, we can call add exam just to be aware that it's a different button. And we can remove this. We don't need set show form anymore. We don't need the on-click method because the behavior will not be associated with the button. but it will be associated with a link. So the link will point to /add, and inside the link we put the old button add exam. Probably there is something wrong. Okay, the comment. Okay, it should work, hopefully. No. Such a form is not defined. Okay, it's clear. So we don't need such a form anymore, we said. Okay, so now we have the add exam button. The add exam led us here, and then we have to change also the behavior of the cancel button, because we want to have the button that is working and not always using the arrows of the browser. So we can go inside the exam form and change the behavior of the cancel button. So again, we are going to import the link. So okay, React Bootstrap, and link from React router DOM. So we wrap again the cancel button inside this link, and we want that this link go back to the main route. We don't need the on-click anymore. We can save, and hopefully, probably, we can also add some white space among the button. Okay, and now we can see that we can move around the pages. And now you can see we can use the button, we can use the arrows, and we can, if we want, specify something in the URL that is case insensitive. So we can write also in capital case. Okay. Okay, so we have created the default route. We create a route for adding. Okay, what we have to do now is make the form working. So what we expect is now saving something, because actually, if we write, I don't know, web app, and we press save, if we go back, it doesn't working, obviously. Okay. So here we have a submit method. We have a button to submit, and here we have the handle submit. So it could be nice that in the end of navigation, we want to go back to the route, to the main route, right? So what you expect is that you add the exam, you insert some value, you press save, and you go back to the main route. Do you remember which component we can use for that? Okay, instead of using, we have two different ways to navigate among the pages. We can use the link, that is something that we already did, and we can use a hook which is called use navigate, that force the application to go to a specific page. So we can add use navigate. We can create a const here. And then we can simply do something like here, navigate /, and that should bring us back to the main route after storing the exam. To verify that the storing mechanisms work, okay, we have in the exam form we pass some props. So we should check what we pass to the form. We pass the extend, the delete, the add, the edit. Okay. Inside the exam form. Okay. Let me check if it's already working. Obviously no. props.xm is not a function. Okay. Props.xm is not a function. Add.xm. Ah, okay, because we did not pass the props to the form route. Okay. Okay, at this point, okay, it works. So, as you can see, we can add different courses. We can choose a different date, we can save, and we had the course inside the list. The delete button should still work because we did not change this part. And we can always reload the application. So what we need now is to re-enable the edit functionality that actually is not working because we would like to have a different route also for it. So just to show you also the nested route, for instance, we can, obviously, the add, we don't need the edit exam anymore. And exam route should not need the add exam anymore. Then we are going to check inside the components how many stuff we broken, but for the moment, just let it in this way. So we are going to create a route that match, for instance, edit. And I think that could be a good idea, for instance, to specify a code. And we could call it exam code. In the element to show, we can create, for instance, another route that we call, how we call the other? Exam route, default route, form route. This could be the edit route. And I take some space because we need for sure to add some props. Obviously, we have an error because this component doesn't exist. We can take the form route. And create something like edit route. We could write here update the exam data. And here we are going again to display the exam form with the edit exam method only. So obviously we have to Okay, so we need to pass the edit exam method. Okay, something wrong? No, okay. I miss a character here. Yes, the F. So hopefully it should not crash. Edit exam is not defined because it was update exam. Yeah. Okay, we are back here. As I said before, I would like to exploit also the index route. So we can create, for instance, a main route for edit. So we remove the exam code. Just to show you something, if here I write edit and I don't know, ABC12, we have the form that obviously doesn't work as expected for the moment, but the form is here. So for instance, I create the edit that will show the edit route. Then we create an inner route, which is an index route that, for instance, show I don't know, an H2 to see, please specify exam code, and then an additional route for the exam code, as we did before. So path, exam code element, and we are going to display yes, I didn't hear you, sorry. The default route, you mean the star, right? Okay, let me just from where it came, do you mean? This default route is something that I called before. It's just I called it default route, but it is something handmade. It's just something to show to display something when you did not match any of the other route. I finished coding here, and I'll show you again, just because I don't want to leave the code in a broken state. Okay, so we said before, for instance, okay, we have this index, we have this update exam. No, this is the method. We have this edit route, and what I want to do is to move this component in a different way and put the outlet component here to show you how it works, nested routing, that obviously have to be imported outlet. Okay, so in this case, we are going to render the exam form. And probably I miss a parenthesis somewhere here, I guess. The route is closed, and we need to close also the edit route. No, this is the closing of. So this close the exam form, and this close. Okay. Let me try, thank you. Okay, this close the exam form, this close the element, and we have still to close the edit route, right? Okay, thank you very much. So here we have to pass the exam, delete exam, and this is which is called update exam. So I hope that everything is working. Not really. Okay, so to go back to the question that you asked me before, when here I've read something, no, I completely broken everything. Okay, okay. So let's start from scratch. We have the main path that for some reasons go to edit. No, let's go to this index route. So we have the, okay, because I closed the edit route here. Instead, here I have to see it. Oh, okay. And then I close the route here. Okay. It's fixed. Oh, okay. So if here I write something that is unexpected, we match the we match this default route, which is the one that you asked me before. I call this component route, but maybe I should use a more smart name because it's a little bit confusing maybe to see route. Maybe I could call them, I don't know, default view, form view, something like that. It's just a not very nice name. The concept is when we have the star path, we are going to the default route. We are going to render this component, which is rendered for every unpredicted text. Then what we exploited before the add, that is still working as expected. And then I add an edit route. Okay, inside the edit route, I design two different behavior. Edit and some exam code that show a form. So if we write here edit slash this code, for instance, we go to the form in which there is written update the exam data. If we don't specify anything, we just write edit, it is rendered, and I mean, the form is rendered when we write edit and a code. The form is rendered in this way because we have the edit route that we had this route that when the path edit is matched, render this component. Inside edit route, we have this h1, which is here, and the outlet. The outlet in this case is matched with this inner route, which is add slash exam code to the path here, which is a variable. And instead of the outlet, we have the exam form. If we go inside the React components, you will see that here, that here you have the outlet. Okay, so you have the expected layout of this component. You have the column with the h1 inside, and in this column with the outlet here. Inside the outlet, we have obviously the stuff needed by React, but we have the exam form. Instead, if we go to edit and nothing more, we will fall inside this index route. And instead of the outlet, we will have this h2 that I've written here. So if we go here, you will have, please specify exam code. Okay, just to showing you also how to use nested routing. As I said many times before, remember this outlet, because if I remove this, the application doesn't know where to render the H2 tags or the form, and you will have a layout like this. So it could happen, you say, oh, I code, but I don't find what I code. You just forget this simple tag. Okay, so now we can start implementing this editing functionality. So we created this, in this case we trigger the exam form with edit. So what we need now is to create a mechanism for which, if I specify a code here, I'll have the content here. So if we go back in the exam form, previously we take the exam data from a props that we pass. In this case, just to show you how to use it, I think that we can exploit this value. So we can use the parameter that we pass to the application. So to get the params, we need to go inside exam form. We need to import a simple hook which is called use params. And then here we can retrieve that exam code. Remember that we need object notation from the URL, not use navigate, use location. No, use params, sorry. Params. Okay. So for instance, just to do something very ugly, if we do something like that, we go in the console, you will see here the code of the exam, which is correctly retrieved from the URL. So instead of using this props.exam, we are going to get these values from the exam code. So something that we can do is to, I mean, we have the code, we pass somewhere no, actually we don't have the list of exams. So in a full application, what we probably do is, okay, we query the backend, we query the database for getting this code. We check if this code exists, and if it exists, we allow to edit. Otherwise, we show an error message. Just to do something not very nice, I mean, but just to show you how it works, we can go in the form. We already passed to the exam form the list of exams, so we can already use them. We can do something like create a new, I don't know how to call it, for instance, editable exam. We checks props dot exams dot find exam return the code if it exists. So exam code, if I correctly remember, we call the parameter in this way, exam code. Okay. Obviously, it could happen if we go, the form is the same, so if we go inside the form from the head, we should not access these props, this param, sorry, because it doesn't exist. So if the params is not defined, we have that exam code is undefined. So for instance, we can do something like exam code and So if this is undefined, this will be also undefined. And we can use the same approach here. Instead of looking for props.xm, we can access this editable.xm. So if the editable.xm is defined, we access editable.xm.code, editable.xm.name, editable.xm.score, and editable.xm.date. Instead of accessing props, instead of checking if props.xm is defined or not, we check for this one. So if this one is undefined, we are going to create a new XM. If it's defined, we can assume that we are editing something and calling the other method. Then we have the navigate instruction for going back. So we can save. Okay, you can see that we already specified an existing code. We have this code, which is automatically retrieved from the list of XM and matched to information system security. We can change the score, we can change the date, we can save. We go back and information system security was updated. We can go back and edit the XM again. This is something quite powerful offered by React Router, because if you want to change, you just press back, you change, and the XM is updated. If we go to a wrong XM, doesn't work anymore. I don't know how, why. Ah, no, it's right. It's simply try to access an XM code that doesn't exist, and he bring us to this form, which is empty and could be used to insert a different XM. No, because we go from edit. Okay. So here we have two different possibilities. We have to display something if we go in a route. If we specify an XM code that doesn't exist, so we can, for instance, prevent the rendering of the form, or prevent to submit, or something like that, or we have to pass also the addXM method and configure that the behavior is initialize something which is, I mean, you are not in the edit anymore, but you are in the, you go to add. So for instance, I don't know, we can code something like, when you go in the handle submit, for instance, you can do, no, because okay, I don't want to lose much time to prevent this error case, but the fact is, the important fact is that you have to understand that you could introduce error that you have to take into account. The next step that I want to implement is, because we create the edit in this way, but actually this button doesn't work. So something that we would like to have is move to the edit form when this button are pressed. So inside not XM form but XM table, previously we changed the behavior of this button. We have now to change the behavior of the XM row. So we are going inside the XM row. XM row has some XM action. We don't need to show the form anymore. So for sure we can delete this prop. And when we go inside XM action, we don't need this editable XM anymore. So we don't need this callback. We don't need the onClick. Okay. But we need to to add a link again. We keep the delete button as before. And we want that this link go to /edit. And we need, obviously, the exam code that we can access here. So we can use, I don't know how to write it. I have backtick, because I don't have the symbol on the keyword. Backtick symbol. Okay, so instead of this string, we specify this string, and we add dollar props dot exam dot code. What I missed? The square, the curly brackets, because it's not a plain string. I don't know what I did. Okay. Now, hopefully, it should work. Yes. So when I click here, I'm redirected to the update form with this configure parameter. So as we already implemented, it can get all the information of the exam, and I can modify the content. So what I would like, so basically we could consider the application finished, more or less, because now we can delete the exam. If we reload the page, obviously the exam come back. We can edit an exam, and if we want, we can add a new course. So everything seems working with the possibility of using routes. But what I would like to show you also is the state, the location, the last thing that we discussed during the lecture, because obviously this approach is working, but as we saw before, could lead to error, could need to be managed. It has the advantage that we can modify an exam directly writing the code here, but it's not so common to remember the exam code and to write directly in the URL. A more expected behavior is to pass an object, because currently, when we want to edit something, we need to pass the whole list of exam, while we already have the information of the exam here, and could be nice to give this information just pressing a button. So using the location state that we discussed before. So to achieve this, we need before to pass this kind of information to the link. So close to the to property, we can add also the state property, in which we add props.exam. So in this way, we are going to pass the state information. What I did wrong? The parentheses again. Okay. So in this moment, when we press edit, we have the same behavior. We just pass a state, and you can see it if we go inside the form. no, okay, because we don't fetch the state. Sorry, I forgot about that. So instead of using this use param, we can copy this part. I'm going to comment this. So close to use param, we take the use location hook. And in this way, we will have the the state value here that we can access. I call it in the same way. I hope that will not broke everything. Maybe it's better a different name. Okay, because here inside the say, okay, I could create again the editable exam that take location dot state dot exam. And the application logic should work in the same way, because we fetch this and we can check if it is defined. So we can do, for preventing the add, we can do location dot state and this. So if this is undefined, the double exam will be undefined, and we'll have the default values. Otherwise, we have the state values. So I saved. We should see here inside, we are in the exam form. You should see here inside location, you have this object called state with all the value, code, name, score, and date that you can access. Obviously, this broke the direct access, as I said to you before, because we need to pass something, we need to pass a state. If we specify the exam code here, it does not work anymore, because we are not querying anything. We are previously, we take the param and we look in the exam list for this exam. So this direct access does not work anymore. But when you press the edit button, it does not work. Okay, fine. Okay. Editable exam, location.state .exam. Okay, it doesn't see the state probably. Let me just try to print. Just to see what is here. Undefined. Okay. If I come from here, still undefined. Okay. would like to see what is the content of this. It's not very easy to debug here, but okay. Location.state, it seems to be filled because it has all the data. Okay, state already contain the values. So when I try to add to access XM, obviously it doesn't work. Okay. Where is the play button? Let me close the debugger. No, even worse. Okay, here we have the issue that I told you before. Date.format is not a function. So when the state is deserialized, we have an issue with day.js, and it is not able to understand that this object is a day.js object. So to try to cheat these, we are going to add another property here. So we can create, instead of where is the edit, inside the XM table. Here we pass in the state props.xm. We create a more complex object in which we pass inside XM. We pass props.xm, and we add as XM date props props.xm.date.format, and we pass the string that we are used to do. So now was right as I did before. So now we can access the XM object inside the state, but for the date, we will access instead props.xmDate, if I correctly remember, and we put it inside a day.js object. So we get the string, we parse the string, and we recreate the object. So I'm going to save. It seems that it's working, hopefully. I reload the page. I press edit. I have to remove the debug. Okay. No. What I miss now? Probably, didn't save here. Okay, hopefully it works. Here you can see the object. Here you have the curse code and all the stuff here. And hopefully, if I don't know, information system security part 2, we have obviously to remove that the bug statement from, where is, from here. Okay. And now hopefully if I press save, we have that information system security become information system security part 2 with this core and the updated, we changed the date, if I correctly remember. Okay. So I think that more or less we discuss everything. about routes, I guess. We had the search parameters. We left the search parameters out, but we have to drastically modify the application, I think, to introduce a search bar. So I'm not sure that we are going to complete this in 15 minutes because it could be error prone. So I think that we can use this little bit of time to give you a quick overview of the next big lab. So we will save a little bit of time during laboratories. The text is almost ready. We have to publish it. I will do it in the afternoon. But I could start discussing a little bit with you what you have to do in this part. No, this is very much forward. This is about big labs too. Very big spoiler. Okay, 1D, not 2D. Okay, what you will have to do, what we will do together in the big lab 1D is obviously to introduce the routes and to introduce the full editing functionalities of the movies stored in the film library. So it's not something very different from what we did now with the exam score example. We always try to be a little bit compliant with what you saw in the lecture and what you have to do in the labs. So for the editing part, that is the part that you can develop before or after creating the routes, you have to give the user the possibility to editing an existing film. So very similar to the React score example. So you will have to add an edit icon near each entry of the film library. When the user press the edit, have the form, can modify all the parameter, and then when you press save, the film is edited and stored inside the library, so as you expect. We ask you again to execute some validation. In the first lab, we explicitly ask you just that the title must not be empty, but obviously you can add also other controls and other checks. And we ask you, for instance, to add also a check on the rating property of the film library to verify that the value is between 0 and 5. This is also because will help you a lot in preventing undesired behaviors, also in the add functionality. Then you will exploit the React router, the library that we discussed now. So we ask you to update the film library application to support different pages using React router version 6. Specifically, you will have to display the form in a separate route, so no more under the list of film. And same stuff for the editing functionality. This is the reason why I say to you, you can start from point 1 or from point 2 as you prefer. So same stuff, you have to show a form. You saw in the lecture how you can do this. You edit, and then you can store the edited movie inside the list of library. And the stuff that is a little bit different from what I explained you during this lecture, but not so much in the end, is to restruct the application to show the filter in a separate route. So what you have to do is changing the filter into the links that you store in the left of the page. You have to change them in the component of React router and prevent and think about a different route for each filter. Remember that the page should be responsive, should be aware of the filter. So if the like here, when we press add, if this is a filter and you reload the page, obviously the page should be rendered with this filter applied. It should not go back in the main case. Okay, about just to conclude the discussion about the big lab, I would like to remember you that you will have to complete the lab this week, this Sunday. You have to upload the big lab on GitHub Classroom. I hope that now the issues with the GitHub Classroom server are solved and any of you is able to log in to GitHub Classroom, hopefully, I hope. Anyone has still problem with GitHub Classroom? Okay, awesome. So by the end of this Sunday, you have to upload the project. As already said during the labs, we are not going to deeply analyze your code. So we would not like to see something it takes some time. We would not like to see something like, I code these in the big lab, you give me 1 point, so it's also good for the exam. This could be, but this is not a strict rule because we are not going to deeply analyze and evaluate your code. We are only going to see if the functionality of the application is working. So the evaluation of the big lab will be very quick. I would like to say we will try to maximize your score because what we want to recognize that you spend time working on this. So we try to give you much point as possible, but this does not mean that what you code in the big labs is good also for the exams. So if you have doubt about this kind of stuff, you can obviously ask clarification to me or to Professor De Russis of what is a best practice and what is not. The rules are quite simple. If you develop the whole application, all the functionality are working, you will get 1 point. For the 0.5 points, you will have to partially complete the app. So we ask you to complete the functionality of the first 2 weeks and to do a little bit more. So one functionality of the other 2 weeks. For instance, in the lab that we see, you can do the requirement of lab 1 and 2 and enabling routing, for instance, or writing the add form. If the submission is not complete, you will get 0 point. Be aware that if we are not able, as you can find in the classroom instruction, if we are not able to compile your application, you will get 0 points. So what we suggest you to do is to clone. You finish your code, you finish your project, you clone the code in a different folder, and you try to compile it. If everything is okay, you are safe. What we will do is just pressing npm install and then npm start to execute the application. For the result, usually we will take a couple of weeks for giving you the outcome. In the meanwhile, we will start working on Big Lab 2. Okay, I think that's all. We finished a little bit before. If you have any question, I'm here to answer to them, okay? Otherwise, have a nice day.